And to be fair, if you're reckless, it wouldn't even be that bad. I mean, that Rocks guy used to shit the bed every game. Yeah, get the joke anyway. Come move on. There's always a segue. There's always a segue. Understand that. Right. So, let's talk about the other group now. Like I set up on the last one, I actually think this is an example of where if you have a similar sort of like lens that we use, which is essentially me and Dom do the thing of like, this is why we count veterancy as meaning something. Just the experience of being in that situation just means you're more prepared. You understand how to roll with the punches. You know what happens if you lose a K game. You know how to draft, adapt. If you haven't, if you're only a sort of a BO1 player, you've never been on a team that was expected to win, it's so unfortunately it is sort of a crapshoot. We can't really know how you'll play. We can't know how you'll react to a game one loss. We can't know how you'll react to drafting your best comp, but then just losing miserably and going like, shit, that was plan A, B, and C. So when you come to the group, dude, you know I said how Group A is almost designed to allow a team like Charlotte to maybe even get out. Group B looks like it's just set up to be like, right, BDS, if you are at all fraudulent, this group is here to prove it, because these are all the teams that in theory people will expect to get you in the BO3s. Like, what... On the last episode, we talked about, like, you always say with BDS, your biggest concern is, like, they always do have that moment in the game where essentially, like, it's not that they always throw it, but they're just, like, they do their hardest to give the other team a chance to win the game, you know what I mean? Like, they don't always pure throw. Sometimes they even win these games, but it's like, this is what Mad Lions used to do last split. They always give you that one chance back. Even if they do a godlike play on the map, they'll always go, like, it's almost like a sporting chance. Like, go on, you have one chance. Ah, there you go. You get a free shot, but that's it, right? If they do that in this group, mate, they're not going to get out, are they? You know what I mean? Like, I think this is exactly the group to punish them.
Yeah, it's tough to watch them because it's like if a boxer, like you looked at a boxer and they always had a habit of like holding their hands too low at a point in the fight. It's like, oh, you can just knock them out right here. If you have any, like, if you notice this, you just knock them out. But if not, I guess they can still win the fight.
Yes.
You see just this vulnerability that's so massive within BDS that it's hard to see a team not exploiting it over a series. And especially when you combo that in with the fact that they actually did really well in the group stage or the fucking season stage last season. I fucking hate this shit, man. In winter season, they did well, just like in spring season, but in the winter groups, they ended up faltering. I could see them also faltering here because there's a similarity in how the team did in best of ones versus best of threes. I'm just gonna end my point there because I just can't handle.
Dude, it sounds like we're in like 1984 or something like. And a season, of course, is part of a split, isn't it? Yes, big brother. And a split is part of a season. Yes, that makes all perfect sense. Totally correct. Season, sir, please. There's just some guy being tortured like, it's round robin and forever. Like, break this man. Break him. This resistor to the state. It's meant
best of ones and best of threes.
Yeah, that's like I said before, guys, we've nailed it. Just call it best of ones, best of threes, and best of five. There you go. Problem solved. Those are the three phases. We got it sorted. No, sure. On this particular topic, like, the biggest problem I have is this. I'll also say this. I'm someone who has a really hard time believing that players who got a bit better are fundamentally going to stay better. So unfortunately, Dom, the other problem I have is this. If I take the nameplates off and I just look at BDS as a whole, and I look at how they allow like fucking crown shot to play, and I look at some of Adam's solo kills, I could get really hyped and be like, hey, maybe this team can like be a challenger for G2. Maybe they can be like top 3 this split, Dom. The problem is this. When I put the nameplates back on, people can think this is haterism. I just cannot believe that Nook and Shio are going to like the finals of LEC. I can't believe that they're beating like, yeah, I'll just sit right up. I can't even believe they're going to beat like Koi, for example. These players, I'm sorry, dude, the whole history of this region is jungle mid. And so, unfortunately, that is, in theory, some of the weaker players on this team. And so, even though they are better than they were in the past, I just don't believe they're top players. I don't, mate. Which sounds like haterism, because, like, Shio especially, he has the odd game where he looks pretty good. I don't personally really buy Nuke at all, mate. Like, to me, he's just another one of those people where it's like, your job is to just pilot a normal Azir. And then you win the game, and everyone's like, it's like, what did he do? You know what I mean? Like, guys, there's a reason why I don't hype just every mage player. I hype the ones who are like gods in CSing or the super sick at team fighter. Is this guy really that good as a mid lane? He's just sort of all right, isn't he? Like, if he was on Astralis, would they be winning? I don't know about that. You know what I mean? So I, even though it's haterism, I just sort of don't believe in those two players long term, you know. I'll give them props when they win games now. I have to, but I just don't believe in them, Dom. I can't imagine a world where it's like, and now entering the LEC finals, Nook and Shio, your jungle mid, like, it's not going to happen. It's not happening, is it? You know?
Oh, it sounds so tough. It sounds so tough. And then especially, like, even if they somehow made it to the finals, they still wouldn't go to MSI because they placed technically 7th last split. So they have to, like,
they have to win outright. Fucking hell, that is wild.
Yeah.
Oh, right, yes.
It's so fucked up,
So
actually.
it's even worse than just a Mad Lions side. It now means you can be second. Dude, that would be crazy because they would have been first in the BO1s. Dude, and by this logic, that means they could literally be first in the BO1s. They could win the BO3s, come first as well. But if you just come second in the playoffs, you don't go down the side. That feels off. Someone's off about that, isn't it? You know?
Yeah, it feels terrible. Which is why, like, I think that there's a good point that somebody made to me within the LEC. I don't know if they made this point publicly, so I'm just going to leave the name off. But one thing they said was the biggest advantage that the first seed should get is they should get to decide what group they go into. Like, the group should be picked, and then the first seed gets to decide what group they go into, rather than just choosing the opponent. Because you look at this and it's like, what the fuck advantage did BDS get? They got to play against SK. It's not like that qualifies you, right? If you beat SK, then you still have to beat G2. If you lose G2, then you have to beat Koi.
Yes.
So you still have to play the
it would, as you're saying, it would have been way better if BDS could have picked to be in Group A, right?
Yeah, for sure. That would be a much bigger advantage. Yes. I mean, I think there's just something off about like how the top seeds are rewarded, because in other formats, for example, like in LCK, you get to skip around. In LPL, since it's 10 teams, you get to skip a bunch of rounds.
If you're like 3 rounds. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you essentially skip to the same point in the tournament, because like the way you have to see it is like there's only 6 teams in LCK playoffs. So it's like you win one where it's single elimination, and then you get into like the best of 5s where it's double elimination. You get to the double elimination stage automatically, the same way that like T1 and Gen G got to the best of 5 or the double elimination stage automatically. I just feel like there's something off about the fact that like BDS, they won 3 more games than Koi. And they won, was it 3 more games than Koi, or was it more?
I think so it should be 3, I think.
Yeah, 3 more games than Koi. And their reward for winning 3 more games than Koi is that they get to still play a best of 3 against Koi, like later on, most likely. It just doesn't seem, it just doesn't seem right, because there's like, it's just a single best round robin. So I don't really like the advantage that they got, considering how well they played. And then, I'm with you where you just don't believe in these. There's a bunch of flaws within BDS. Not only do they have like a gameplay catastrophe every single time, they're limited by champion pools. You saw that be an issue in the best of 3s last time when you knew that Adam was going to pick Olaf. What ended up happening, you had the Kled in the final game and Astralis, who was considered significantly worse than them. Like BDS and Astralis were in completely different tiers. If you remember back to like the winter season, because the winter split, because in the season portion of it, BDS was 5-4, but they looked really good in their games, where Astralis was supposed to be out, and they just had that like miracle run where Fnatic ended up choking and EXO was just dog shit, and Astralis barely made it after starting like 0-5. No one really believed in them. BDS went to have a competitive series against G2, and then they just ended up losing to Astralis in the losers. So it felt very weird for BDS, because the trajectory was like, oh, they look pretty good in like the best of 1s. Now when they go to the best of 3s, are they legit? They look pretty legit. They're able to take a game off G2. That's pretty fucking good. And they just lose 2 games to Astralis, and one of them is because Adam just completely runs it down on Olaf. He tilted so hard with his item build and just the way he played out the game. It was crazy. You just felt like, oh, I guess we didn't really get to see BDS. I can see the same thing happening, unfortunately, where maybe they look really good. Maybe they even beat SK. It's like, okay, nice, they beat SK. They skip 1 best of 3, then they play Koi, and then Koi just plays 2 solid Koi games.
See more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or, be a pleb and don't.